I'm not audible, so maybe you can let me know. Okay. Yeah. So I'll just share my screen.
Hiya.
Yeah. Hi. Hi there. Okay. So I'll just share my screen. So hope you can see. Yeah. Yeah. So any question, or we can start the class? Okay, so I assume that we don't have questions, so maybe I will start the class. Okay, so in the last session, so what we saw is that the setups related to the invoice processing, okay, so which we have seen. So what are the optional configurations and what are the mandatory configurations, okay, and then we saw a few invoices that is created, and I also showed you how to match with the purchase order. Okay, so that is with regards to the invoice processing. Okay, so now when it comes to the payment processing, so there are other few configurations, so similar to the invoicing, so we'll have to do in the system. Okay, so the first thing, if you see, so it is the payment method that we will have to do it. Okay, so when we say payment method, it is check, or whether this is clearinghouse, or what type of payment is this, so that is what we are referring to here. Okay, so now let's say if I want to create an payment method, so let's say electronic. So let me call this as an NEFT. Okay. So this is basically the electronic mode of payment, but system will not understand at this stage, because here we do not have option to mention this is an electronic mode of payment, or this is basically your offline payments, or the check, or the DD, and the other payments. Okay, so here basically we are defining the payment method, and we are giving access to the respective module. So in the sense that payables, receivables, and the cash management. So these are the primary modules which will use this particular payment method. Okay. So in terms of processing it, so we can process it as an refunds, or if I want to process it as an supplier advance, or probably the supplier invoice payment, so that we can do it. Okay. So here again, if you see, so we have certain filtration criteria that we can do here. So either I can say this is at the business unit level, maybe specific business unit we can give. So similarly, if you see, here are the transaction types that we can use. Okay. So probably let's say this payment method which I'm creating, I don't want to give it to the cash management. So simply I can disable this option. Okay, and also I don't want this payment method to be assigned to a particular supplier, or to particular customer. So what I can do is that, so I can disable this particular option. So in that case, I will have to open that particular supplier and assign it manually. So I'll have to go to this payment method and say add, and then I'll have to add this particular electronic, or this payment method. Okay, so we can mention the start date, so from when basically we wanted to use this. Okay. And then here if you see, so there are certain validations that we can perform. So there are predefined validations, and we can create the user defined validations. Okay. So most of the validations that we are looking at here is specific to the country, localization specific. Okay, and apart from that, we also can give certain controls. For example, if I want to basically restrict to a particular currency, so this payment method will be used only with USD currency. So I can say document payment currency equal to USD. Okay. So similarly, if we come down, so we have a lot of other validations that we can apply here. Okay. So basically, if I use this particular payment method, so these validations will apply. So for example, if I want to validate in India scenario, I'm saying if I want to validate IFSC code, if IFSC code is missing in this particular payment, so this payment will fail in case of business processes because bank will validate if there is an IFSC code. Okay. So now instead of going to the bank and then I'm getting the return, so what I can do is that so I can set this validation saying that this information is mandatory. Okay, so this I can specify. So this is not only to the IBAN or the IFSC code, so we have other validation as well. So here if you see, so we have the payment amount and the other validation as well. So probably if we are working with a specific country, so this will be useful. Okay, so for instance, if you see, so the pay, bank name, and all those things we can specify. Okay. So this is validation that we can do. So this is one thing that we can do. Okay. And then we have bills payable. So bills payable, if I want to use this, so I'll have to enable
So
at
when you say
yeah.
validation, at what point it will be used, Arun?
When I'm processing the payment, so let's
Mm.
say I have enabled this as IBAN. Okay, so now
Mm.
this IBAN number is not associated with the supplier bank account. So when
Mm-hmm.
I'm processing it, so before I complete the payment, so this will fail. So meaning after I select the invoice and I go to proposed payment, so at that
Mm-hmm.
stage, this payment will get failed.
Oh, okay. So it will go look for that particular process. What are the attributes that is needed
Correct.
for cutting that payment check or
Correct.
the document? So at the
Correct.
system level itself, the validation will happen. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
And anticipated float value means at the header level.
Anticipated float value, I mean, I have not used it.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
I'll check and I'll
That's
comment.
fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's
Okay, so this is
okay.
fine.
Mm.
Okay, so then we have the bills payable. So bills payable is primarily used for the payment documents wherein we will not get this confirmation from the bank or any other financial institution immediately. So instead we will capture two stage of the processes. So in case of check, let's say this is post-dated check. So in this case, we will capture when this particular check is issued and also we will capture when this particular check is cleared. Okay. So meaning I have issued this check. So customer has taken, sorry, the supplier has taken this check and deposited with bank. Okay. And then bank will clear. So there are three steps here. So the final step that is clearance will come into picture. So when we import the bank statement and then we clear this particular statement line. Okay, so this is one process. And then the second process is that so we'll have to record the maturity date. So what we are seeing here is that so before this we will have to give the bills payable account and all those things in the invoice options which we saw earlier. So there if we have enabled it, so I can say this payment method will be used for bills payable, and optionally if I want to give the maturity date over it. So maturity date is nothing but so when this particular, so let's say in case of post dated check, so the payment issue date is 16th of March, but then the maturity date when this particular payment or when this particular instrument will get maturity or when I can go to the bank and submit or get the amount is that 20th of March. Okay, so that is the maturity date. Okay, so probably if I want to extend it to 1 or 2 days, so I can set up the override. So this is optional. If I want to use only the bills payable functionality, so simply I can enable this option. Okay, so this will act as the bills payable payment method.
Mm.
Okay, so this is nothing but the additional information so that we can capture. Okay, so this is about the payment method. So how we create it. Okay, And then the next option is that, so if I want to default this based on the rules that I'm defining in the system, so that I can do it. So here I have add option. So if I say add, so I'll have the payment method, so which we created in the previous step. Okay. And then I can give the usage meaning to which particular module I'm creating this particular payment method usage or the defaultation rule. Okay. So this I can specify based on the currency or the location or the business unit. So let's say this business unit will use only check payments or only EFT payments. So I can enable by specific to this particular business unit. Okay, so that's this option. So this is just to default it. So probably if I want to override, so I can override, but this will default the payment method.
Arun, down if you
Yeah,
see foreign currency and domestic, right? Pay
yeah.
location, why is this? Will this have any impact? Usually,
So
currency
the
I can make sense. It'll ask you,
yeah,
it'll be like a ledger currency or multi currency.
yeah,
But here it
correct.
says payee
So
location, right? What impact will
yeah,
it have?
yeah. So this is basically vendor's address that we are talking about. So
Mm.
this is nothing but vendor's country specific currency that we are talking about. So probably if I want to get it based on the vendor location, so that I can do it, or if I want to restrict based on the currency, so that also I can do it. So we have optionally two setups, but you will find it closely similar, but it's about the currency, but this is about the vendor's address or the location.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that is about the payment method. Okay. And then the payment process profile. Okay. So this is crucial because based on this payment process profile, basically we are creating the payment. So because this determines how this payment must be processed and what is the format that needs to be picked up. So before this, what we will do is that, so we will create this template in BI Publisher. Okay. So we have this format creating in RTF template. So that's the same thing. So if I want to create it in RTF, so I can create it in the BI Publisher. So this is kind of a technical thing. So once they create it, so we can attach it in the manage formats. Okay. So once it is attached, so then I can see the payment file format here. So I can select the payment file format. Okay. And then I have this option of selecting electronic or printed. So check would be printed and probably the EFT would be electronic. Okay, so this option I can select. So based on that, so I can select this payment document. So if it is check or the printed document, so then I can select the payment document so that I can define the default printer. So here in the test environment, I couldn't find the default printer, but if you see in the actual instance, so we'll find something called default instance here. So using that, we can see, so once this check is created in the system, meaning the payment is created in the system, so automatically we can print it. Okay, so in terms of check payment, so the way or how we will basically print it is that, so I will have to define this template. So based on this template, if this check leaf is in the printer, so I can say automatically submit. So when we say automatically submit, so once this is done, so this process will initiate to print the check. Okay, so before this, there are certain prerequisites that we will have to do, because if you see, so this payment method, so we will have to do it using the cloud printer. Okay. So once this is done, and I'll have to do this IP whitelisting of this particular check payment. Okay. So once this is done, so automatically I can print these documents. Okay. So that's about the default printer that we will have. And then here, if you see, so we have this usage rules. So that is, if I want to restrict to a particular payment method. So let's say this is electronic. So I wanted to restrict only to the EFT payment. So I can say specify and I can add here the EFT payments only. So when I select or when I have the supplier invoice with a different payment method, so I will not be able to find this payment process profile which we are creating here. Okay. So similarly, we have the bank accounts and the business unit and the currencies as well. So these are certain filtration or the controls that we have in terms of accessing this payment process profile. Okay. And then the payment system is nothing but creating this. So if I have institution or the bank, okay. So if I, so let's say I have this Paytm. So if I want to configure Paytm, so I can configure it here. So the reason when we will use this payment system is that, so when I want to transmit this payment file to this particular institution or to this particular bank, so I can configure the payment system. Okay, and after doing this configuration, so we have something called transmission configuration. So what this transmission configuration will do is that, so this will takes care of sending this payment file to the bank folder automatically. Okay, so similarly, the same transmission configuration, we can use it for the bank statement also. Okay, so probably after this, I'll share, I'll show that part also, because in EBS if you see, so we'll have to develop this, but in Fusion, so we don't need to develop it. So using the UCM, so Oracle has developed this. So all we will have to do is that we'll have to give the server information, server details, username and password and all those details. And additionally, so we will have to generate a file. Okay, so once that is done, so we can complete this, and when I create this payment, so this payment will be automatically sent to the shared folder that we have mapped in the transmission configuration. Okay, so the same transmission configuration can be used for the bank statement import. So wherein there we will have to schedule this process. So once that is scheduled, so this will look for the file that is deposited in that particular folder and import it automatically. Okay. So that's about the transmission configuration. So probably after this, I'll show that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and these are certain document grouping rules that we have. So probably if I want, for instance, if I want to group by due date, or if I want to group by the settlement priority, so all those things I can do it. So even by the delivery channels. Okay. And then the payment file generation. Okay, so here if you see the payment grouping rule, so again, so this is based on the business unit or the payment date. So this I can define. So optionally I can set the payment limit also. So meaning system is not going to restrict beyond this, but this will create as a separate payment file. So instead of one file, so we'll have to send as a two different files. So that's this control. Okay. And by
Mm.
currency also, if I want to set the limit, so I can do this. Okay. And then the payment sorting. So by supplier number or the supplier name or the amount. So these are the certain controls that we have. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And these are the delivery
Okay.
channels and
What
the
is
option. Yeah.
batch booking?
Sorry. Oh,
Batch booking down just above the overrides.
this one, right?
Uh,
So batch booking is nothing but if I want to group this particular payment or the batch payment, I can say. So batch payment in the sense, this is not exactly same as the PPR request that we have, because even that we are calling it as the batch payment, but this
mm.
is for the purpose of grouping certain transactions based on the classification. So if I want to use that, so probably I can use this option to group it. So just as an option, I can use this, but this is, I mean, how do I explain? Almost similar, but so this is additional option in terms of grouping the invoices. So in case of the group payments that we wanted to send to the supplier. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, okay, I did not get the name. Okay, so this is nothing but the transaction grouping. Okay, so transaction grouping is nothing but the invoice grouping, that how do we want to group it. Okay, so that's the option. So these are certain grouping criteria that we can give. So one thing, and then the second thing is the payment system that we can create, and then we can attach the payment file format here, and we can say this is how the payment should be processed. And lastly, the usage rules. So if I want to restrict to a specific payment method or the bank account, so that I can do it. Okay.
Mm.
So once this payment process profile is created, so then I can go to the transmission configuration. So here basically we are defining how this payment file must be created and in which format I wanted to take this. So this is all we are giving here. Okay. So, but the file transmission, so we'll have to give here manage transmission configurations. Okay. So here optionally I can select. Okay, so here I can give the name for the configurations, and here is where basically we are keying most of the information. So if you see first thing, so it is the destination URL. So this URL is nothing but the shared folder path where we want to send this particular payment file. So once this payment is created, okay, and then we have the username and password, so which will be authenticated, okay. And if there is an proxy host on all those details, I can enter it here, okay. And then here we have something called the encryption key. So this key we will have to generate, okay. So I can click this option, and I can say, I think here we'll have option to create. So once we say create, so this encryption key will be created, okay. So which I can attach it here. Yeah, so it is here. Okay, it's asking for the private key password. Maybe this is okay. Probably just give the transmission name. I don't know, some issue with the server. So what will happen is that, so probably I'll explain the process, so how this the key will be generated, okay. So
Okay.
because here I'm having trouble creating, so I mean this is the option, but somehow it is giving some server issue, okay. So firstly we will have the private key password with us, so which bank will give us. So we'll have to input the password here first, and then if I say create this file, so wherein I can say quick create or advanced create. So I tried both the options, but it's not working. So once we say this, so the file will be created. Okay, file meaning the key. So key is the file that I'm referring to. Okay, so now I can attach this file. Okay, and then I can go to this option. Okay, I can just check if the URL, username, and password is done. Okay, so once this is done, so I can test it. So we had this postman in EBS. Okay, so it's the same thing similar to the postman that we have it here. So inside the application, Oracle has built this. Okay, so after giving the URL and then the key and then the username and the password details, so if I want to test the connection, so I can say test. So I do not have the active connection. So probably if we have it, because I will need this file to be generated along with the URL and account, because the account will have the username and password. So if you have these informations, so we can say test, which will say if the login is correct. Okay. So in some cases, if the password that we are giving here is incorrect, so probably we might see this test as failure. So we'll have to correct this password, and then again we'll have to generate this key file. Okay. So once that is done, so after we attach it there, so we can say test, and then we can say save and close. So once this is done, so then what we can do is that, so we can initiate the payment. So then to this particular shared folder path, so the payment file will be deposited automatically. Okay.
Okay.
So that is about the transmission configuration. So this screen can be used for both the payment file and the bank statement import. But this cannot be used for the receipt. So we have this logbots feature, but that will need the pass license to do the certain developments, and then only we will be able to import those results into the application. This option can be used only for payment file and the bank statement import.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, probably I will show this also. Okay, so this is to create the payment system, because this is what we are attaching in the payment process profile. Okay, so this will basically have the bank name and then the transmission URL, all those things. Okay, and then I can use this for the electronic fund transfer. Okay,
Okay.
and if yeah, and optionally, if I want to use this employee credit cards, and if I want to use the tokenization, so I can enable this option. So if at all I'm using, okay. And then we can see this is the format, because when we created this payment process profile, so
What
we
is
saw
this
that.
credit card tokenization?
So credit card tokenization is nothing but if I want to record the employee expenses, so I have option to integrate this expense, I mean the credit card party, so that when I
Mm-hmm.
import this statement, so I can say that this line or this transaction of employee report is linked with the
Mm-hmm.
this particular credit card. So now when I send it, so instead of sending as it is to the particular institution, let's say American Express, So this will require the tokenization. So if I want to use this tokenization, so I'll have to enable this option called credit card tokenization. So this is
Okay.
nothing but kind of an encryption process that we will do.
Okay.
Yeah, then the format so that we saw, so once that is developed, so we can attach it here. So this is one thing. And the transmission protocol, the previous step what we did, so that we can attach it here. Okay. And then optionally, if I want to add the another payment systems option, if I want to pull in here, so that I can do. And these are like the payment tokenization. So it's nothing but the credit card tokenization, so that I can enable it here. Okay. Yeah, and the fund capture is basically related to the receivable module. Okay. Yeah, so once this is done, so we can say save and close to create the account. I'll just say, okay. So yeah, so we have created this. So there are options that we will give. So in this case, I did not give the option. So I just created this payment system. Okay, and then the payment system account, so which I can specify here. Yeah, so this is the process to create the payment systems. Okay. Yeah, so once that is done, so we are good
What
with
is this payment
yeah.
system, external payment system? What's the difference? Anything the payment system is external only,
So
right, for us?
yeah, so this is basically the integration specific. So the external payment system meaning, so this is created in Oracle. So if I want to, so let's say if I have third party system and if I want to pull the data from there, so I can use this option to integrate
Mm-hmm.
it. But this is created in Oracle itself.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so the payment related setups are this, and finally, so we will have to create this
What is
bank.
manage system security option? The last one.
So this is nothing but the system options that we will give. Okay, I'll just open this. Okay,
Oh,
so if I want to, let's say, mask this bank account, so these are certain controls or certain things that we can do. So let's say I wanted to mask, let's say, display first digit, or let's say display last four digit. Okay, so rest if I want to mask it, so I can do this. So this is one thing. So similarly, if I want to do it for the credit cards, so I can do. So credit card, I did not enable it, so that's the reason I couldn't see edit masking. So probably if I have the credit card instrument created in the system, so then I can. So which means
wh-
that
wh-
if I have,
where do you have to enable this? In which
so
setup you
this,
did not
yeah,
enable? If you
yeah. So
scroll it up, so go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, so this credit card, if you see, so I will have to create in the expense module. So once I have created in the expense module, this is the credit card to integrate
Mm-hmm.
with the provider. Okay, so then I will be able to see this option as edit masking. So then I can say that this, so it's similar to, so we'll have the credit card numbers that is created in the system. so that if I want to edit or show only the last four digits, so that I can do it. So similar option,
Okay.
but for the
So this
different
bank account numbers masking,
yeah,
is it for the employees or it is for the supplier or at the any third party,
uh,
the bank accounts, customer also?
customer's bank account.
Okay, at receivables, not the suppliers.
Yeah, yeah, supplier.
Supplier and customer, or it's only.
No, no, this bank account numbers, if you see, so if I have a supplier bank account and also I have my internal bank account or the customer's bank account, so I
Mm.
can do the bank account masking for all these things.
Oh, for all the
So
bank
meaning
accounts.
whatever the bank account that I have in the system, so I can enable this option. Because I have customer bank account, I have supplier bank account, and I
Yeah,
have my
yeah, yeah. No,
bank.
I'm trying to understand. Here we say security option, but it says encryption tokenization of payment instrument sensitive data. So that's where I got confused. This bank account, is it for employees or suppliers? Because
No, this
customers,
is
uh,
not employees account. So this is internal bank accounts that we maintain and also the supplier bank accounts,
mhm.
both.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so similarly, the credit card data encryption that if I want to apply, so which I can do it here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, currently they have thousand and aging day as three is what they have set it as. Yeah, so these are nothing but the security layer for the payment details basically.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So once this is done, so then the configurations for payments are done. So probably we can create the single payment or the batch payment to check if the format is working fine, one thing, and the payment process profile, which we should be able to do it. Okay, so here the prerequisite would be having the bank account created. So since we have already seen the bank account creation process, so I'll just go ahead and create the payment. Okay, so let me just check if the access is given for this user to create the payment.
Uh, Arun, so
Yeah.
at the invoice level, when we enter it, do we enter through which bank we will make the payment or we don't, right?
No, there we don't enable it. So it's at the payment level so that we are enabling the bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the invoices, so will not mention our bank account. So it is the supplier's bank account that we will list there. So when
Mm-hmm.
we select the payment, so that is when we'll say under the processing, so we'll select the bank account.
So where do we actually give the payable document number? So it will be unique with bank along with the payment method, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that will be in the setup payment
Yeah,
document.
in the bank
Okay.
account. So when we set it up, so we'll say
Okay.
just
Okay. In the bank, we will have something called a payment document. For so
yeah,
each
correct,
payment method, we will have that serial number. Okay. Got it.
correct, yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. You can make a payment.
Okay,
That's okay.
okay, okay,
I was just trying to recollect it.
okay, yeah, okay. So I'll just click payments Okay. So this is basically the dashboard addition to what we have in the EBS, because in the EBS so we'll be looking at only this thing. Okay. So addition to that, so we have these options as well. So wherein if I have initiated the stop payment, so I can see here. Okay. And if there are any hold placed, so which I can see in the last option. Okay. And then if I have ran this particular payment batch and this is running, so which I can again see here. So if I extend this schedule process, so which will tell me the process that is running and the status. Okay. So this is one thing. And then the payment files. So if there is any issue in generating the payment files which requires our attention, so that I can see here. Okay, so the
So
reference
this
number.
payment process request, depending upon the data security that is assigned to the user, you will get to see the data, right? Which business unit?
Yeah, correct,
Okay.
correct. Okay. Yeah. So whatever we are seeing here are nothing but the immediate actionable items that we'll see
Mm.
here. Okay. So we'll see even the recently completed items and then the recently terminated items. So all those things we can see here. Okay. So instead of going to the manage payment, so I can select from here. So if this is under the processing, so here in this case, so this is the payment process request that is created. So there are few invoices or probably more than 4,900 invoices that is selected. So I can click action and process, or optionally I can remove it. Okay, so these are the items which we will find in the dashboard. Okay.
Mhm.
And then here, if you see, so we have the PPR to create the PPR. So this is the option, the first one. And second option is to manage it. Okay. And then this third option is to create the template. So these things are similar to the EBS. Okay. So
Mm.
wherein we can define the template and do it. And then the create payment. So to create the single payment, so I have this option. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
And then the manage payments. Okay.
So here the create regulatory report depending upon the localization that is enabled, it will
Yeah,
show.
correct.
Okay.
Complaints.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And then if we select the submit the payment files immediately, if we uncheck that particular option, so I'll have to go to this option and run it manually. So if I select
Oh.
it there, so I don't need to go for this option. So system will take care automatically. So it will generate the payment files automatically. But if not, so once I select the invoices and complete the proposed payment process, then I'll have to say this is the payment number that I mean the payment file that we have generated. So for which I wanted to generate the payment file. Okay. So this is for both the
So,
electronic and
so here also is any approval can be enabled,
yeah,
Arun?
approval can be enabled for the payment process request. The batch
Process.
payment we can enable, but for the single payment we cannot enable the approval.
Oh. So once the users go, they create this payment request. So the
Yeah,
request is done. So the manager or the supervisor go review those payments and they
correct.
approve it. So then
Yeah,
the automatic electronic payment files will be generated. So we can have such kind of approval here.
correct. Yeah,
Oh,
correct.
oh, okay, okay. So that even for that we will have to go to BPM, give that
Yeah,
an approval workflow set. The approval matrix will be enabled there.
correct.
Okay, okay, got it. And then at the user level of each user, I will have to give the right privileges or remove
Correct.
the.
Roles. Yeah.
Okay, got it. The roles, got it.
Okay. Yeah, and then the create positive file if I want to create it. So if I want to attach this along with the check, so probably I can say create positive file. Okay. And then if there is any conversion rate that is missing, so if I want to apply it here, so before running the PPR, so we'll take care of these things. But in case if we have missed out, so probably I can use this option to apply the conversion rates if that is
So,
foreign currency payments.
conversion rate, it is usually managed at the ledger level, right? So
Correct.
the AP team
So
also, they can
no,
go enter the, it will be
this
over
option.
the, uh,
Yeah, so this option, if you see, so after I uploaded there, because there could be possibility that without checking the conversion rate exist in the system, so I might have run this PPR. So now after uploading it, so if I want to apply this to the PPR, so simply I can say this is the business unit I wanted to apply, because I might have the conversion rate that is applied to this particular ledger. So this ledger might have different business unit. So out of four business unit, if I want to apply it to the one business unit, so wherein I might have four or five payment process profile that is created. So now if I want to apply those, so I can select by business unit. So this is just to apply the conversion rate, but creation will be still in the general ledger module through the manage daily rates that Excel upload.
so apply means they can go avail the conversion rate
Yeah, correct.
while making. Okay. So it means I say whether multi-currency can be paid through this business unit or not.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So then the send separate remittance advice. So because there could be certain business wherein they don't want to send the remittance advice immediately, because even if the payment is not cleared, so this remittance advice will be sent out to the supplier. Okay. So to avoid that, so after the payment is cleared, so if I want to send this remittance advice, so which I can send it manually by selecting this option. Okay, and then these are the additional letters that I can send. Okay, and then the accounting options. So if I want to account the payment issue, and also if I want to account the reconciled payments, so this is the option to account both the payments. Okay. And then we have this payables to ledger reconciliation. So probably after completing this, I'll show this part. So this is used wherein if I have, let's say, 10 transactions created for this month, I accounted only 8 invoices. Okay, so two are not accounted, and I wanted to understand the difference between payable and the ledger. So this is the option that will help me to identify. So the transaction. So the transactions are hyperlinked. So I can select that particular payment number and I can view more details. Okay.
Okay.
And these are nothing but the period closure things. Okay. Yeah, so firstly, I'll create this option. I'll go with single payments, okay, and then I'll come back to the batch payments.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So to create the single payment, I'll say create